When Katy Perry was asked why she wrote this song that you guys have just listened to, she said this: "I really believe in people, and I believe that people have a spark to be a firework. It's just up to them. And a lot of the times it's only us standing in the way of reaching our goals, fulfilling our destinies, and being the best version of who we can possibly be. So that's why I wrote it." And I think that is so true. I think what we think our worth is, what we think our value is, actually has a big effect on the rest of our life. Whether that stops us from reaching those dreams and those goals that we have for ourselves, whether that stops us being the person that we actually want to be but we just don't have enough confidence for it, or whether that stops us from even thinking we can do well in our exams, it has an effect on our life. And I think we are constantly trying to figure out how to know our worth, where to find it. And sometimes we can look to our friends for that and what they say about us, or we can look at how attractive we are and try and get our worth from that, or we can, like I said before, try and do really, really well in our exams, which is great, but we can try and find our worth in that as well. And the problem with doing that is those things are constantly changing. And if those things are constantly changing, that means our worth is constantly changing. And in this session, I could give you 5 top tips of how to love yourself, or 5 tips of how to discover your worth, which might work for a few weeks, but I think the only real way for you guys to know your true worth is to find it from the one who has the ultimate worth on you, to find it from the one who sees everything, who knows the big perspective and yet still thinks that you are absolutely incredible. The ultimate artist and the ultimate creator, and you might get where I'm going with this, it's God. And before I go any further, I just want us to have a quick look at some of his creation. So you guys are seeing some pictures on your screen right now from some research that I've done of space. And the first one is called the Helix Nebula. And this is a large constellation of Aquarius, which is the closest constellation to the Earth, yet it is still 700 light years away. Which means if you wanted to get here, you would have to travel for 700 years at the speed of light. Now, at the speed of light, you could actually travel around the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. So with that in mind of how fast that actually is, that you can travel around the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second, you would have to travel at that speed for 700 years to get to the Helix Nebula, this picture that I've just shown you in space. And the next picture you guys are seeing actually shows us how small Earth actually is compared to the rest of the universe. You might be thinking, I can't see it at all, but if you look very, very closely, there is a tiny white dot in the brown streak on the right hand side of the picture, and that actually is Earth. That actually is where we live. In fact, I'll circle it now so you guys can see it. Isn't that incredible? Yet, looking at those pictures and the vastness of the universe and the vastness of what God has created, he still says that the pinnacle of his creation is you. In the Bible, it talks about when God was creating the earth and how he said everything else was good, but when he created humans, we were very good. And how God spoke the earth and the light and the animals, everything else, he spoke into being, yet for humans, he breathed his life into us. He made us in his image. We are the ones out of all his creation who Jesus came down in the form of a man to come and live a perfect life and to die and to rise again just to have a connection with you, just to have a relationship with you. When we think of the craziness of that, of how small we actually are compared to the rest of God's creation, yet he still says that we are the pinnacle of it. It's a bit mind-blowing. And in Ephesians 2:10, it actually says, "For we are God's handiwork. We are God's masterpieces, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which God prepared in advance for us to do." We are God's masterpieces. How amazing. And I don't expect you guys to sit here and listen to this and think, oh, okay, now I'll never have any issues with worth, now I know that. But the truth is, this is where you can find your worth, that God is the ultimate one who can tell you where your value is, and you now have a decision to make. You can either carry on thinking everything else you thought about yourself, or you can choose to believe this as fact and as truth, and to make the choice every single day to say, God, I'm going to choose to believe what you say about me. I'm going to choose to believe what you say my worth is. And trust me, I'm still there. It's still a journey, but it's an amazing journey. And my heart is that you guys can join this journey too, of knowing your worth and your value in God.